Hello. So, I'm going to go over the ritual of Venism. I gave you the ritual in a trinity. A three in a oneness. Or a threeness in a one. What about two? What about four? What about five? So, let's start with unity. The ritual as a unity. When you are enacting the ritual of Venism as a unity, you are the prime mover. In pickup artistry, but in religion, God is the prime mover. What about dualism? Not dualism. Duality. There's an old pickup artist duality. Push-pull. It's directional. Duality is directional. In myism, at the very least. There's also direct and indirect. And in religion, there's initial conditions and there's end time. So, the most important ritual, the ritual as a trinity. These rituals aren't separate. They are all the ritual, but it's just different numberedness. So, I gave y'all approach, engage, bounce. That's the trinity. That's the ritual trinity. The trinic ritual of Venism. So, let's give some more external things that help give content to the trinic ritual. So, I used to be a fencer. Sword fighting. There were 3 maneuvers. Advance, retreat, lunge. I bring this up to show that it doesn't always have to be approach, engage, bounce. Someone who doesn't know what they're doing could attempt to bounce the target first. Just asking a question of God. Sometimes it works. But most of the time, you want to build it up. Another example is thesis, antithesis, synthesis. You want to start with an idea, a thesis. I don't know if idea is the best word. Go in the opposite direction, then add them together. I wouldn't say opposite. Anti is a better word. So, some more old pickup artistry that is a good way to shed light on approach, engage, bounce. It goes open, build, close. Along with that Trinic ritual, there is attract, comfort, seduce. Can you seduce without the target being attracted? Maybe. Definitely. But it must not take a lot of energy. So now that I'm talking about energy, let's talk about another part of the Trinic ritual. Ethos, pathos, logos. You start with character, you build energy, then the logos pulls out whatever is needed. So, one last example of approach, engage, bounce. In the Christian mythos, the story goes Yahweh, Satan, Christ. Okay, so let's move on to the quaternity. The ritual as a quaternity. This is the part that only occurs because the Trinity, the ritual as a Trinity, was enacted well. Or just enacted. It doesn't have to be well done. Could be poorly done. But as long as it was enacted, it will work. What happens in the fourth stage? The fourth, I wouldn't call it a stage. I'd call it a new phase. It's a whole different ritual. But it requires the third ritual to merge. Quaternity is love. It's eros. It's agape. It's Mother Mary. Maturity, awareness. Sex for pickup artistry. Let me give an example of how the Trinity leads to the quaternary. Let's say y'all believe the belief statement that behavior is foreplay. If you believe that statement, that means you have already gone through the Trinic ritual once, at least, to get on that level of behavior. Because, in my opinion, you have to go through at least one Trinic ritual to get to the Quaternary. The Quaternary, or some other word that would make more sense than that word that I just made up, is about signs and signals. And all the other ones put together. Okay, so I gave some meaning to approach, engage, bounce. The approach is how you hold the self in relation to the other. The other is the target. The other could be God, the other could be a girl, in my case. The approach is moving together. The engaged stage is how the other holds the self in relation to you. The engaged stage is moving in. The bounce element is how both hold self when moving on. The bounce element is moving out. Just some definitions I made. Okay. So, the ritual as a Trinic thing is the most important whole or perfect thing in the ritual of Benism. This is because it's the interesting in between. 3 is the interesting in between of 1 and 5. More like it's the exact in between. But it's also the interesting one. It's interesting because it requires no content. If you follow those 3 steps, you'll automatically move to the 4th ritual stage. Quote unquote stage. Ritual thing is a better word. And you'll learn the signs, so you'll move on to the 5th ritual stage. And the dualistic ritual stage, it doesn't matter. You're always pushing and pulling. It just depends on if you're conscious of it or not. So, a little bit about my ism. I wanted to spread like a pathogen, which is why I'm doing this. It was to learn about Eros and Logos, but they weren't that interesting. Eros and Agave. And I basically already knew everything. But anyway, I want it to spread like a pathogen. And a pathogen is a whole thing that generates energy. It does rhetoric. I mean, rhetoric is speech, but it does the same thing as rhetoric. It's on a different level. It is communication. But for my venism, to spread like a pathogen, it's gonna have to be meta. It can't be content. This is why I'm doing these lectures on the paradox, how venism is the same thing, whether or not you're looking at pickup artistry or you're looking at religion. The practice is the same. Good luck.